Welcome to the Jeremy Matthias video podcast in honor of the 95th Academy Awards, which, as of this recording, is tomorrow. I'm going to go through and pick who I think should win some of these different Oscars. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to throw up the nominees on my screen, immediately eliminate a couple, and then talk through why I landed on, who I landed on, and ultimately who I wish would win the award. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the categories. All right, our first category, I'm going to start with the nerdy categories that I like a lot, the writing categories, and the first one is Best Adapted Screenplay. The nominees are Edward Berger, Leslie Patterson, and Ian Stokell for All Quiet on the Western Front, Rian Johnson for Glass Onion, Kazuo Ishiguro for Living, Aaron Gruger, Eric Warren Singer, and Christopher McQuarrie for Top Gun Maverick, and Sarah Polley for Women Talking. Now, right off the bat, I would eliminate a couple of these, which is All Quiet on the Western Front, Living, and Top Gun Maverick. Living, honestly, is because I have not seen the movie yet, so I can't really cast a vote for it. But as much as I enjoyed All Quiet on the Western Front and Top Gun Maverick, I don't know why these are nominated for writing. These are not very much dialogue-driven, story-driven movies. So it's strange their appearance in this category. Top Gun Maverick, I mean, the plot is laughably simple and unoriginal. It's a fun movie, doesn't deserve to be in writing. So that brings me to Women Talking and Glass Onion. Women Talking is exactly that. It's a movie about these women debating whether or not they should leave this religious colony they live in. And it is an interesting movie. I'm always fascinated by movies that can be so dialogue driven. But honestly, my winner here is going to be Rian Johnson for Glass Onion because I think it was just a really fun, creative story all the way around. And it's straight from his mind. It's only adapted because it's characters that he's already created. And whereas Women Talking is based on a book. And so I really give Rian Johnson a lot of credit for creating this whole world of Glass Onion. And so that is my pick. Next up is Original Screenplay, where the nominees are Martin McDonagh for Banshees of Inisherin, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. Now, right away, I'm going to eliminate Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness and Spielberg and Tony Kushner for The Fabelmans. Just to me, story-wise, these were the least creative and interesting to me. Triangle of Sadness, I guess, was creative, but that was an artsy movie that just didn't hit for me. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a movie that you'll see as we go on I didn't care for, but I got to give it to him that it's at least creative storytelling and a lot of thought went into it. Tar is sort of a intellectual artsy movie, and I actually appreciated a lot of what it did, but my winner is going to be Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin. Again, I'm always fascinated by movies that can be dialogue driven, and this movie is driven by very simple and very sparse dialogue and story, but somehow it's still fascinating. It's a wonderful movie about relationships and human connection, and it does it so, again, simply, and I was really impressed with what Martin McDonagh did. The next category is Best Visual Effects. All right, the nominees here, I don't have the specific people who worked on it. There's usually a lot of names involved with this, but All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Way of Water, The Batman, Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun Maverick. Now, right away, I feel bad I eliminated Wakanda Forever and The Batman. Fun superhero movies, but they didn't compare to these other ones. I couldn't believe what they did in Top Gun Maverick with filming the scenes in the fighter planes. Kudos to Tom Cruise and all the people who flew the planes and made that look crazy good. All Quiet on the Western Front, amazing visuals. It's hard to make a totally unique war movie, but they did things in this war movie that's like, oh, cool, I haven't seen that before in a war movie. That was really impressive. But guys, honestly, there's only one possible winner here. It's Avatar: Way of Water, because to me, it is actually just the best visual effects I've ever seen in a movie ever. So, sorry to the other competitors, but this was the only movie that could win because it is like visual effects, the movie, just showing off what we can do as filmmakers in the year 2022, and so that one would be the clear choice for me. Okay, the next category is best cinematography, and this is basically just how you shoot the movie. So when a movie looks really great, you credit the cinematographer. And this year's nominees are James Friend for All Quiet on the Western Front, Darius Khondji for Bardo, Mandy Walker for Elvis, Roger Deakins for Empire of Light, and Florian Hofmeister for Tar. Now, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate a couple. And one of these really saddens me because Roger Deakins is my favorite cinematographer. He does amazing work. He's done a lot of really great movies. And I watched Empire of Light almost exclusively because Roger Deakins got nominated for Best Cinematography for this movie. And it ended up being one of my least favorite movies I watched all year. And I was really disappointed that it wasted Roger Deakins. Look, he made some things look beautiful in it, but ultimately the movie was just so bad that I didn't want to watch it. His cinematography couldn't even help it, so I immediately crossed that off the list. Tar, interesting movie, not much visually that I think was so compelling. Maybe there was things that went over my head, but Elvis, Bardo, All Quiet on the Western Front, these were all movies that looked very good. Bardo actually was a movie I didn't finish, but I kind of wish I had just because of the cinematography being very interesting. But honestly, the winner here for me is going to be James Friend for All Quiet on the Western Front. It was a really visually captivating war movie. And again, in the battle scenes, they did some things that were just unbelievable. And so that was the pick for me. I think this one transitions naturally into Best Director. And for this one, our nominees are Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. Now, again, if you've been paying attention, you're not going to be surprised by the fact that I'm going to cross out Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. He directed a movie that, frankly, I just don't like, and I felt like it didn't really have any cohesion to it. And again, maybe I missed the point, but I didn't watch that and go, boy, that one was a director who just had a real tight hold and grasp of what his story was. Tar, again, interesting story, but more about the writing and the acting to me than the directing. And so that leaves us with Everything Everywhere All at Once, which, again, movie I didn't love, but I have to admit the direction was pretty impressive, and the way they the way they wove all these universes together. But it's going to be hard for me to pick it since I didn't enjoy it. The Banshees of Inisherin was beautiful, and sort of the landscape and the look of the film was half the charm of it. But ultimately, I'm actually going to go with the old classic. I'm going to go with Spielberg here, who I don't remember when the last time was he won Best Director, but he really, I thought, did cool stuff with The Fabelmans. And, you know, that last shot, which was very on the nose with the horizons, but it's just the shot that stands out the most to me of any. And that's the sort of thing that you think of when you think of a Best Director winner is, do they have a shot that just really stands out to you? And that one stood out to me. So Spielberg gets the nod from me for Best Director. All right, now we're going into the acting categories, which is the one that probably most people are interested in because what we see on screen is what we tend to connect to the most. And so we're going to start with Best Supporting Actress, where the nominees are Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hong Cho, oh man, I'm going to feel really bad for the way I pronounce some of these, for The Whale, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, right away, knocking off three of them. I haven't seen The Whale, so sorry that actress is out because if I haven't seen you, I don't know how I could pick you. And then the two for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Honestly, like Jamie Lee Curtis, I kind of get that she's one of those, she's been a really good actress for a really long time, and the Academy wants to reward her, but when she popped up in that movie, I was just kind of like, why is Jamie Lee Curtis in this? And for the girl who played in Everything Everywhere All at Once, an eccentric character who shows up and doesn't do a whole lot. I don't know. It wasn't one of those parts where I thought who else could have played that. So it narrows down to me for Angela Bassett, who I guess was able to give sort of an emotional performance because of the way they dealt with the character dying because of Chadwick Boseman having actually passed. But I mean, to me, guys, this was Carrie Condon all the way. I actually feel bad that I don't respect the competition more because I thought Carrie Condon was awesome and she could have won in a competitive field, but I didn't even feel like this was a competitive field. I feel like Carrie Condon was just like the standout in this group, and so she is who I picked. Best Supporting Actor, the nominees were Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fablemans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Kiku Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, I'm really going against sort of the consensus here because I'm only going to mark off one, and it's sort of the favorite to win the award, and I can't even say his name, Kiku Kwan, for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did he do fine? Yes. I'm not mad if he wins this award, but to me, this is kind of like the story that people like more than the actual deserving of the performance. It reminds me of when Sylvester Stallone was the favorite to win for his performance in Creed because everyone was like, man, he's Rocky again and he did awesome. It's kind of like, hey, this guy that we knew as a kid actor is back in this movie and you did awesome in this movie. Let's reward him. But I, it wasn't my favorite at all. Brian Tyree Henry was awesome, but is it weird that I actually wish he was nominated for Bullet Train? Not nearly the Oscar type movie that Causeway is. Doesn't get to have the dramatic moments. He's just so likable, and that's what makes him such a good actor. He's so naturally like charismatic on screen, and he's likable in Bullet Train as one of these two sort of adopted brother hitmen. And but ultimately, that's not the movie he's nominated for. He's great in Causeway, but it also feels like a cheat putting him in supporting actor because it's one of those things where he really feels more like a lead actor. But I guess it was, um, not his movie, and so you could put him in supporting. Um, and so Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan, those two might sort of cancel each other out a little bit. Brendan Gleeson was awesome. He's very quiet, has this presence about him when he's on screen. And Barry Keoghan is hilarious, playing sort of the nitwit of this town. And he has maybe the funniest moment of the year as he's trying to hit on Carrie Condon's character and he's pointing out a beautiful lake, which made me and my friends laugh quite a bit. But the winner here for me is Judd Hirsch. Judd Hirsch is exactly what I think a supporting acting winner should be. He comes in and for 10, 15 minutes in the movie at most, he's in and out. But man, he just owns the movie for that amount of time. And when he leaves, you like felt his presence. And I'm surprised Judd Hirsch isn't more of sort of that actor that's been around for a long time that people have liked and people saying, let's give him his due. And maybe that's what people think with the nomination, but I actually think strong case to win it, and I would like to see him win it. All right, our next category is Best Actress, and the nominees are Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, I'm going to mark off two right off the bat. Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie. I have not seen the film. I actually think it's fascinating, the sort of backstory of her nomination. If you've heard anything about it, it appears there was this groundswell of support from other celebrities and filmmakers to get her nominated. And so kudos to her for getting that support and getting nominated, but I haven't seen the film, and so I can't throw my support behind her. Michelle Williams, was she really good in The Fablemans? Yeah, I think it's fair to say she was. But she was my least favorite person to see on film this past year. Every time she was on screen, and maybe it's because of her character was just one I didn't like. Maybe it was the stupid Sound of Music haircut that she had. I just hated watching Michelle Williams on screen. And maybe that was some of the response we were supposed to have, but I don't think it really was. And so I'm just like, I just don't want her to win. I don't want to watch Michelle Williams in that character anymore. So that leaves me with Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think she did a good job, but again, when the movie's not very likable, it's hard to support you. That could go doubly for Ana de Armas in Blonde. Did she do a great job in this movie? I think so, but man, that movie was weird and bad. And so it's really hard to tell. I've heard theory that people nominated her almost because they feel so bad for the stories of how bad it was on set shooting this movie. Um, but ultimately, like if the category was actress I'm most likely to fall in love with, I'd probably choose Ana de Armas. But best actress, this one actually was pretty clear to me. It was Cate Blanchett for Tar. From what I hear, there's a good chance she will be the winner. It was just a really, talk about a movie that is driven by a strong acting performance. Tar was driven by Cate Blanchett. It's one of those, could that movie have worked with anybody else in the role type performances, and so I think she would be a really deserving winner. And that takes me to Best Actor. Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nighy for Living. This category makes me sad because right away I have to take out 3 for having not seen them. I haven't seen 3 of the nominees of Best Actor. The Whale I've kind of planned to see. There's a lot of hype around it, but it hasn't really been available to me. It isn't one that I felt really compelled to get out to the theater, make that trip, and pay that price to see in theater. Aftersun and Living, not streaming for me anywhere, and so I just haven't been able to catch those movies. And so it comes down to Austin Butler and Colin Farrell, and I think they're both worthy options. Austin Butler did an amazing job transforming into the character of Elvis, and Colin Farrell did a great job being very understated and playing what was ultimately a dumb character. The whole plot of the movie is he's just sort of a dull guy, and that's why this friend of his decides he doesn't want to be friends with him anymore. And Butler has the flashier performance, and so it's very tempting to say, like, it should be Butler. But I'm just kind of tired of giving it to people for playing real life people, particularly musicians. Recent performances have been praised for playing Freddie Mercury and for playing Elton John, and it happens over and over again. I want to give it to Colin Farrell for being a guy who naturally was charming, and that's what most of his early career was, and here he is stripped down of all that charm and just being dull and playing a really interesting character in The Banshees of Inisherin. I'd love to see Colin Farrell win this award. And that leads me to the last award, the big award of the night, Best Picture. There are 10 nominees for this category. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun: Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. Right off the bat, I'm going to slash that list in half. I'm going to get rid of Elvis. Best Picture, I don't see that. It's frenetic, it's watchable, great performance, not a Best Picture. Everything Everywhere All at Once, I've already talked about it. It's just a mess of a movie to me. It's weird, and ultimately I didn't think was that interesting. I didn't think its core was as compelling as people make it out to be. Tar, again, great performance. Not necessarily to me a great movie. Triangle of Sadness, movie I didn't like at all. And Women Talking, sort of compelling, but again, not enough for being a Best Picture. So that brings it down to these 5. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: Way of Water, Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, and Top Gun: Maverick. And it's a tough field because, honestly, there's not one that was just like so good to me. I was like, well, this is my clear favorite. They're all flawed, actually, to me. And so I look at it and go like, Avatar: Way of Water, probably my favorite theater experience of the year, but I don't think I could watch that movie again on a small screen. And for that, I don't think I could make it a Best Picture. The Fabelmans was interesting, but I have a feeling that 5 years down the road, I will never think about The Fabelmans. Banshees of Inisherin was a good movie, but man, it was so just kind of simple and quiet that, like, I don't know if it really, it. And so it came down to me between Top Gun: Maverick and All Quiet on the Western Front. And man, the lack of like real plot, the way they just skirt around who the bad guy even really is, the fact that I think they really misused the character of Hangman, who was like the reincarnation of Maverick, because they wanted to make the son of Goose be the guy that Maverick takes under his wing. I don't know, a lot of missed opportunities. In the end, All Quiet on the Western Front was the movie that I watched and had the strongest response to. Yes, it's not original to watch a war movie that goes, man, war is awful and sad and what a visceral experience that's happened again and again throughout history, but just all things combined, the filmmaking, the visuals, the emotional impact, I think All Quiet on the Western Front was my best picture of the year. Well, that does it for my Oscar picks. Thank you for watching through this with me. I would be very curious to know who your favorites are to win the different awards. So please let me know. And I hopefully will do another video soon in which I will just make some comments about other movies that I liked throughout the year that weren't represented by the Academy's nominations. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.